Today we're going to get started on the muscular system. The muscular system is the biological system in human beings that produces movement. Muscle is a contractile tissue, so muscle contracts, it shortens, and is derived from the mesodermal layer of the embryonic germ cells. Make sure you know that. There are approximately 640 skeletal muscles in the human body. The number of muscle fibers cannot be increased through exercise. Instead, muscle cells get larger. This is called hypertrophy. There are three types of muscle in the human body. There's skeletal muscle, that's voluntary and used for movement. Smooth muscle, which lines the intestines and some of the organs, and that's involuntary. And cardiac muscle, which is the third type, and that's found in the heart. So the three types of muscle are skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. Skeletal muscle obviously are voluntary. That means you have control of them. They're attached to the skeletal system, and this allows movement. They're multistriated. That means they have multiple nuclei. The muscular system includes only skeletal muscles. The functions of skeletal muscles are: 1, they produce skeletal movement. 2, they maintain body position. 3, they support soft tissues. 4, they guard openings. 5, they maintain body temperature. Make sure you know that. And 6, they store nutrient reserves. Muscles have 3 layers of connective tissue. Number 1 is the epimysium. That's the exterior collagen layer which is connected to the deep fascia and separates the muscle from surrounding tissues. 2, the perimysium, and it surrounds the muscle fiber bundles. They're called fascicles. And they contain the blood vessels and the nerve supply. Make sure you remember that. And thirdly, the endomysium. This surrounds the individual muscle cells, or muscle fibers. They contain the capillaries and nerve fibers. They also contain myosatellite cells. Those are also called stem cells that repair damage. This is an image showing you the epimysium, the perimysium, and the endomysium. And you could see that the skeletal muscle is in fact an organ of the muscular system. Tendons are made of all 3 connective muscle tissues, the epimysium, perimysium, and endomysium, that meet at the end of the muscle, and it connects the muscle to the bone. That's the key. The tendons connect the muscle to the bone. Nerves are an important part of the skeletal muscle process. Skeletal muscles are voluntary muscles, so they're controlled by the nerves of the central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord. Without the nerves, the muscles become useless. The blood vessels are very important for skeletal muscle because muscles have extensive vascular systems that supply large amounts of oxygen and supply nutrients to carry away waste. Now we're going to go over the internal organization of the muscle fiber. The sarcolemma is the cell membrane of the muscle fiber, or muscle cell. It surrounds the sarcoplasm. Sarcoplasm is another name for the cytoplasm of the muscle fiber. Next, we have the T-tubules. Another name is the transverse tubules. What they do is they transmit action potentials through the cell. That allows the entire muscle cell to contract, and it happens simultaneously. Myofibrils are the smallest level of muscle tissue made up of bundles of protein filaments. Another name for those protein filaments are called myofilaments. Myofilaments are responsible for muscle contraction. There are 2 types of myofilaments. The thin filaments made of the protein actin. They're called actin filaments. And then the thick filaments made of the protein myosin, and they're called myosin filaments. Here you can see the muscle cell. It's also called a muscle fiber. You can also see the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the muscle cell, the sarcolemma, the cell membrane of the muscle cell, the myofibrils, where They contain both protein filaments, the thin filament actin and the thick filament myosin. This is just another angle, and what you're able to really see here is the T-tubules and the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which, when we learned in chapter 3, is also called the endoplasmic reticulum of the muscle cell.